I mean, it wasn't the way he pronounced it. The way I pronounced it wasn't different.
I've got another technical issue with the show.
Are we not live?
No, we're live. I forgot to hit the unmute button. They can hear it now. It's on now. Do you want to explain for a third time? I'll do it. I'll save you. All right. Okay.
We did for 5 minutes.
All right. We're technically 12 minutes into the show, even though I don't believe it's been going longer than 6. Because, thank you, Kathy, by the way, in the comments for saying can't hear you. You made me realize that I am an idiot, and that I forgot to hit the unmute button. All right. So let's go over the rundown of today's show so far. We live streamed last night's Auburn-North Alabama game on YouTube. So therefore, when I started today's live podcast, we did not go live. So we did 5 minutes of a show to nobody, in which I realized and told my guy Tony Mack, I said, all right, stop. That wasn't a show. We had no show. Nobody saw it. Nothing happened. We're going to restart. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Take 2. Going to get it right. Boom, get it going. We're live. Kathy sees us. We're ready to go. Then I look over here, and she goes, I can't hear you. And I go, oh, what now? How could it possibly – oh. I forgot to click the unmute button.
My favorite part is in that second take that we did. Mm-hmm. You were like, must be a darn producer of ours.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Thank you for hanging out for 6 minutes and 18 seconds of silence.
Baseball game last night was great.
Oh, my gosh.
Auburn was the home team, even though UNA's right down the road and on both of our dugouts. Auburn won by run rule, which we didn't know was
Sorry, I'm just going to take a quick break. Shut my head in this door. Sorry, keep going.
Let's skip that recap. We'll go right to the cool part of no, he's going to do it.
Idiot, you stupid idiot.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm all right now. I'm all right.
All right, my big takeaway.
All right, starting now.
My big takeaway from last night.
Camera broke. Yeah, it's not working.
Gonna do the show from home plate.
I'm kidding. It's working. I'm done. I'm not gonna interrupt you. Everything is running. We're good to go.
I'm not
redoing
the beginning.
No, don't.
We're just recapping. Auburn won the game last night, 13-1.
If you're a lip reader, you're gonna really love the first 6 minutes of the show. By the way, if you have that ability.
Yeah, if you can transcribe that for us, that'd
be super.
My big takeaway last night was, as the PA announcer, the name. There were some cool names last night. But
names.
There was one name last night.
That
stood above the rest, and that was Auburn's cleanup hitter.
Was it Ike Irish?
Ike.
Oh, my gosh.
Irish.
I love that guy's name. In fact, I love it so much it feels like we just talked about him 5 minutes ago, but no one heard it. So that's what it feels like, but that couldn't be the case. Well, Ike Irish, what a cool name, huh?
Kathy says that Be Nice, her son was one of the freshman pitchers for UNA. Which one? Because I got told I pronounced one of the pitchers' names wrong.
No.
The UNA dugout, like the players in the dugout, told me the pronunciations before the game. So
did you say
I would
freshman?
Love to know. Yes, it was one of the freshmen.
They might have been playing a prank on him. That might have been a little locker room rousing there.
Am I pronouncing this right? Because this was the name. It was. I believe. I don't know if it was John Malika or what his first name was, but this was the name. It's Malika. Okay, so I went through it with the dugout last night, and I can't remember which one. There were like 2 or 3 players that came up to me, and we were running through the list, and I got to that, and I said, "Is it Malika?" And they were like, "Yep, good, move on." So I apologize for saying Malika instead of Malika. You can go to the dugout whenever the next UNA home game is and scold all of those guys because they're the ones that told me.
I think that was a locker room prank. I think they were trying to get the freshman.
Get the freshman?
Yeah.
They got him.
Because I was talking to Trevor on our staff. He used to play baseball at George Mason, and there was a guy on maybe UNA or Auburn. I can't remember. His name was Brody. And he said he used to play with a guy named Brody. And on the road, they mispronounced his name and called him Bobby. And for the next 4 years, that guy was called Bobby. So I would not put it over a baseball locker room to go, yeah, no, that's how you say it. Yeah, do that.
So she says I'm still wrong. Is it Malika?
You're still wrong.
So, you
want me to mute the mics again? And then we don't have to worry about it.
Well, here's the thing. If it's way off, because I was told when it was radioed up to us, they said Malika.
Maleka.
So is it Maleka?
Maleka.
Okay. All right. Well, I went Maleka last night in the dugout, and they said it was cool. So I apologize for that, Kathy. That is my fault. But It
Was that the starting pitcher for UNA last night?
No, he came in. He was a relief guy.
Okay.
He was a relief guy.
Starting pitcher for UNA though, true freshman. That's quite a gig handed to you. Hey man, go take the bump. You're on the road. You got 6,000 people here, and you're playing the number 17 team in the country.
He was thrown into the fire last night, man.
Yeah,
gave up 6 runs in the first inning. They ended up settling down all right after that because it got to 6-0, and we're thinking, okay, we're gonna get that 10 runs really quickly, and then how bad is this gonna get? But for the next couple innings, till like the 4th inning. It was going pretty quick. UNA was getting in there and retiring Auburn pretty quickly, like Auburn was doing to them. And then we hit another inning or two where Auburn started piling on the runs. And
how many years in D1 is this for UNA? It's only a couple, right?
I can't keep
Since
up
they
with all the sports because football competes in like the Big South and other sports compete in the ASUN. I'm not sure. It's only been a few though.
Right.
And football, I don't know what the transition period is for the other sports, but for football, it was several years to transition to full D1. So I'm not sure.
It's a big transition.
She says 1. So it's their first.
Oh, so that's a big jump, man. Mm-hmm. That's a big jump.
But I mean, we loved hosting UNA last night. Yeah. It's the second time we've hosted a UNA team. We had their football team here playing a game on back in October.
I actually saw their athletic director had a cool post. He's like, UNA closed out the baseball season here at Toyota Field with a football game, and then opened up their baseball season with a baseball game here. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. UNA got to cap and start 2 different seasons here in Toyota Field.
Back to Kathy's first comment about being nice. I'm not going to say anything bad about UNA anyway. Kathy, I'm a UNA alum, so Roar Lions. I would love to have seen that been a better game, but Auburn's a pretty good baseball team. Being ranked in the top 25 in D1 is a big thing. The SEC is a gauntlet in SEC baseball as well. So. It was awesome having everybody out last night. Like Ricky said, I'm not sure which take you said this in because we've had this conversation several times, but it was a good crowd on both sides. We had 5,400 people here, but it wasn't just all Auburn fans. UNA represented really well last night too. So,
absolutely, great to see it, and man, pumped for the Alabama game coming up here at the end of March. I mean, we saw what Auburn UNA can bring. Alabama, Middle Tennessee State expecting the same, if not. Better crowd.
I felt pretty dirty last night.
It's gonna be good.
During that game. But during my goodbyes that I have to read, I had to read in front of at least a couple thousand Auburn fans that the Alabama get your tickets to Alabama MTSU, and I could hear a few like, on the way out. But hey, man,
I can believe it. I mean, yeah, if you're an Auburn fan, you certainly aren't driving 3.5 hours to go watch Alabama play.
Yeah, I mean, I had to read it though, man. It was on my paper. That's what I was told to do.
It's all right. They all got handouts on the way out too.
That's
little
what
flyers
I heard.
Saying, "Hey, Alabama game's coming up." I'm sure most of those were recycled.
That's dirty. That's dirty, man.
You never know.
But it's pretty awesome.
Gotta do it. Got that. What you got in there, Kathy? Is that a paragraph?
So I almost threw up being here. And watching on TV, can't imagine how hard that was to start off in front of 6,000 peeps. Brutal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you heard our Trash Pandas talk about it all last year, how big of a positive it was to have the crowd on their side. On the flip side, it's got to be tough as the opposing pitcher coming in here knowing, especially on a minor league level, you might go to a game, there might be 300 people there. Mm-hmm. Then you come play here and there's, 6,000 or 7,000.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
same with college baseball. I mean, depending on where you play, there might be 10 people there. Then you come to a game like this, 6,000. That's a change up.
And keep that in mind, too. And I think Auburn fans learned that last year. UNA fans, I'm sure there have been plenty of UNA alum that have been to games out here because a lot of people that go to UNA do come from these areas. They understand this. But if you look at minor league baseball and you want to throw the Trash Pandas in that same mold, then you're missing out because, like Ricky said, you could legitimately go to another minor league baseball game in this state and maybe only see like 200-300 people at a game. Last year, our second year in existence, we averaged, this was on average, 5,500 people a game.
And I've seen the list of every team in the country and what they average, and there are legitimately some teams that average in the hundreds.
We
got it made, man.
We would have
Tuesday, such a great area.
Tuesday and Wednesday nights with like 3,300 people, which was below average for us. That would be, best nights of the month for some places.
It's this town, too. I mean, you see it, the Huntsville Havoc playing the same league as a team that literally the other day, the Vermilion County Bobcats or whatever that are in their league, they had a home game against Quad Cities. Quad City showed up, their team, to Vermilion County. The road team showed up. The fans showed up. Everybody was there. And they found out. Team folded. We're not playing tonight. As the other team's warming up to play the game at the building of the team who folded.
What happened to all the people that came to the game?
They turned it into open ice. Everyone just got to skate around. The away team started hanging out with the fans of the home team. They did a free skate. They all hung out and they had the ice for a few hours, so why not? I mean, just a crazy thing. But in the same league the Huntsville Havoc are in, where a team can schedule a home game, not show up, and fold in the same day. And, meanwhile, the Havoc, some nights you can't even get a ticket to a game.
They've already sold out like 4 or 5 games.
It's the same thing here, man. In the same league, you might go to a game and there's 400 people, and then you come here and it's massive.
That's good news for
We're lucky, man. North Alabama. This is a spot right here in the Rocket City.
If that tells you anything, that's a good sign for the new soccer team coming.
You would think.
You would think, yeah. I mean, if everything's trending, hockey does well here, baseball's still doing well here. I mean,
hockey can work in Alabama. By God, soccer can.
That's right.
Helps having the MLS tie-in too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's up to, look, I mean, we've heard for years, especially being in sports radio, I've been to a friend of mine's younger brother. I go to some of his soccer games. He plays for a local high school around here. I've been to one of our listeners on our old radio show as a coach at a local high school and does soccer. There is such a huge soccer following around this area, and they're just always like frustrated that they don't get their moment. That sport doesn't have its moment here as talked about as other sports like baseball and football and everything else. Well, I'm telling you now, here's your moment. Be there. I mean, show up and support it and show us how wrong this area has been about not, making soccer a bigger deal than it is. You guys have that responsibility. This is your sport and the one that you want to be talked about as much. Show up. And I have faith that they're going to. So
I do too. And I always thought it was crazy that, Alabama could have 2 of the biggest colleges as far as sports goes, like attendance, all that. Auburn's got the best home court advantage in all of college basketball. 2 stadiums that can fit 100,000 people for every home game. And then the idea of a pro team coming to Alabama, everyone's like, I don't think they could support it. We couldn't put 40,000 people at an NFL football game in the state of Alabama.
Oh, my gosh.
You couldn't take both fan bases, have them combine into one massive force, and we couldn't put 40,000 people in a stadium somewhere?
You get good at football in the state of Alabama, people are going to show up for it. Look at UAB.
How could we not?
What happened? UAB folded and got the death penalty and somehow was able to come back, and they started being successful, and they did so well. They have a new stadium built in Birmingham.
Would you not be a massive fan of the NFL team if we had one?
Absolutely, man.
Instantly, right? You wouldn't even care. Even if they stunk, they'd have a grace period where people would show up just because it was the new thing.
100%.
I always thought that was insane. Huntsville's got a hockey team, in a league where teams up north can't even show up to the game. Mm-hmm. we can't support football, which we already support. So on a larger level, whatever.
So once again, thank you, Auburn, for coming out and hosting this game. Thank you, UNA. Thank you for all the Auburn fans and UNA fans, UNA parents, Auburn parents, everybody that came out to support this game, support their kids, and be here at Toyota Field. Thank you so much. I had a great night. I know you had a great night, and it was a good night of baseball. So thank you.
I'm gassed, honestly, man.
Me too, man.
I am not in mid-season shape.
We got a long way to go.
We got one game, and I'm like, oh, God.
Get ready, dude, because we got some high school baseball coming up in March, and like 4 games at a time, per day.
Thankfully, I'll be up in the box for these high school games. Take it easy.
Good, yeah. It is much easier up here than you got it. I know you walk a lot down there. So.
Walk around a lot, yeah, man. I'm trying to get the inside scoops.
And then we have Alabama again at the end of March. That's going to kind of cap everything off. That's not Trash Pandas baseball.
Oh my gosh!
And then Trash Pandas baseball, April. What?
I forgot to plug in the mics.
Stop.
none of this is on.
No, luckily I can look at that.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry.
Why did we get the wheel?
What?
Why's the wheel going?
No, that's regular.
Is that?
Are we
real?
okay, dude? I don't know why that happened.
It looks like we're good. I got the live feed over here on YouTube.
We're good. We're fine. Everything's fine. JK.
Don't do that.
Everything's fine.
I thought you were doing a bit, and then I saw the wheel. So
JK. Everything's good, I think.
There is a lot of happening going on in other sports, though, as well. I know we like to, since we're still waiting for Trash Pandas baseball season to get here, we like to keep everyone updated and talk about some of our favorite things. Football's a big one for us. In the NFL, free agency's coming up soon, and you're going to see some moves before the draft and all that. The Titans, if you're a Titans fan, we're talking about having a professional team here in Alabama, but if you're a Titans fan, which is just an hour and a half from where we are right now, they made some big moves today to get under the cap. Robert Woods gone. He was there a year. The Titans, I mean, that's if anybody got super excited about Robert Woods and thought he was going to be something. I'm not saying he didn't have the potential, but the Titans have done this for I don't know how many years, where they get a guy who's older or injured and a little bit past what he was in his prime and try to make it work. And Robert Woods was just another one of those guys, for whatever reason, just didn't happen to work out in his 1 year in Tennessee. And also Taylor Lewan. I think he's been there for almost 10 years now. He's been a Titan for a long time. The left tackle has been released. And I'll be honest with you, I think it was the right move. I like Taylor Lewan just fine, and he's
you like this.
Been a great personality for the Titans. He's got the Bussin' with the Boys podcast with Will Compton, who's been in and out of rosters for the last several years. But the fact of the matter is, when he's healthy, he's a great left tackle. But he hasn't been healthy in a long time. I can't tell you the last time he has played a full season with injuries and suspensions. Taylor Lewan hasn't really been there. He was hurt most of last year. I think he was suspended for 4 games the year before that. Before that, he was hurt. So he's so in and out all the time. And with obviously the money that a high-end left tackle like that commands, it was time for him to move on. So I'm glad the Titans did move on now. The Titans are still making a bigger hill for themselves to climb with the new GM. They've got a lot of work to do. You've got Derrick Henry, who is awesome, but you need to start rebuilding that offensive line, which when Derrick Henry was running for 2,000 yards was fantastic. The offensive line was really, really good. Tannehill was great for his first couple of seasons in Nashville, and it's starting to go a little south. You don't have really any great proven talent wide receiver. The defense has a ton of good talent there. You just have to make sure you keep it and they stay healthy, because they got banged up last year and started to fall apart a little bit. So now getting rid of your left tackle, you've creating a taller hill for yourself to climb. But I think it was a necessary move.
I mean, the Titans stink.
Yeah, it's not good.
Lewan's been hurt. He's hurting them by being hurt. Robert Woods, it doesn't matter how good he would have been last year. They didn't have anyone to get him the ball. So that was going to be destined to fail. And really, you were just trying to make up for the fact that you made a horrible trade and getting rid of A.J. Brown. You looked around and went, God, I think we need a receiver. It's like, yeah, you just had one. But, yeah, I think we need a worse. I think we need one that's not as good, though. All right, we'll get Robert Woods. Yeah, but we should probably get a less talented quarterback, too. That way we can really not capitalize on this. Oh, man, dude, the Tennessee Titans.
I was asked today.
This happens every time I talk about the Titans. I get sucked up into the A.J. Brown trade, and it makes me just go, how?
A friend of mine texted me today and says, hey, who would you rather have as the Titans quarterback? Because he's a Titans fan, too. He said, would you rather have Tannehill or Derek Carr? Because, Derek Carr's looking for a new team right now. Derek Carr. I would rather. I don't think it's much of an upgrade. I think it's marginal. What I told him, I said,
if it is,
it's marginal, but it's cheaper. Derek Carr's a free agent. He's not owed that $40 million because he got cut. So the Titans can sign him to whatever. And Derek Carr is going to be able to negotiate what Derek Carr wants to negotiate. He's not getting $40 million a year. There's a reason the Raiders cut him. He's not making $40 million. Ryan Tannehill's worth right now, his contract's like $30 million a year, something like that. So if you can get rid of Tannehill and go get Carr for the cheap, then yeah. I mean, I think I'd rather have Derek Carr. It puts you even further under the cap, and you get to go and build either your offensive line or some weapons for you.
Yeah, if it's better for the cap, you got to do it. You already know what Tannehill can do for you. Derek Carr, I'm not saying he's going to do any better or get you any further. He might do worse, but you don't know, and at least you have that.
And it's cheaper.
That's the best. That's the best. That's a Titans win this offseason. It's cheap, and maybe it'll work. I don't know. Ain't no proof to tell me I'm wrong.
So I'd rather have Derek Carr. I would. I'd rather have Carr because, I mean, either way, whether you cut Tannehill or you don't, I think he's going to have a big cap hit against the Titans this year. So, oh well. So I'd rather have Derek Carr. I thought the Colts would have been a great fit for Derek Carr, given the fact that the last 4 years they've gone after old beaten-up quarterbacks because they've had a really good roster. They've gone after guys that are past their prime or that have been given up on, but have had great seasons in the past. and 2 of them possibly Hall of Famers, that they put a good team around him and tried to do well, and it didn't work out. You had Phillip Rivers for 2 years. They at least went to the playoffs. You had Carson Wentz, who lost to the Jaguars and put them out of playoff contention at the end of the year. And then you had Matt Ryan, who was just a complete bust. That whole team fell apart this year for the Colts. And then now that they are in position to – they're just within range to trade up to get that number 1 overall pick and go after a quarterback. I saw CBS Sports' draft prediction today. They said the Colts were going to trade up and select a quarterback. You want to guess what quarterback they have the Colts selecting at number 1 overall?
The mayonnaise man himself, Kentucky's Will Levis.
Wrong.
What?
No.
The guy that me and you have both not liked, but then we saw him play in a bowl game. We were like, maybe he's pretty good. C.J. Stroud.
No.
Bryce Young?
No.
The ghost of Johnny Unitas. Who?
Anthony Richardson.
Wow.
They think Anthony Richardson is going to go number 1 overall to the Colts. Why?
Whoa.
Why?
The amount of capital you would have to give up for a guy who would be a complete project.
It just blows my mind when people look at Bryce Young. This is the overthink period. You look at a guy like Bryce Young, and you say, "Wow, that guy in college going up against the best athletes in the best conference was really, really good." But we don't think he's going to be able to come over here and take those hits that he was taking in the SEC. He's too small. So instead of taking a really good guy but small, let's take a bad guy but big.
Yeah, he can take a whole lot of sacks.
Yeah,
he can get it all the time.
And
Do you realize how well he's going to be sacked for this team? So good, dude.
I don't mean to talk too bad on Anthony Richardson because I love, his raw potential at Florida.
I've been a huge fan of his.
And I still think he has a ton of it, but he is so far underdeveloped as a passer right now.
Yeah.
And Bryce Young is not. My favorite comparison I heard of Bryce Young has been a smaller version of Aaron Rodgers because he's got all of those tools in there, right? Like he's always seems calm, cool, and collected as a quarterback. He can make any throw, whether perfectly timed or unscripted. He has that it factor, almost like the Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers gene in them. Like when you need something to happen, you're scared. On 3rd and 15, it's not like, okay, the other team's going to get the ball back. You're scared as the defense because you're like, well, they still have this guy. Bryce Young is that guy to me. And yes, I'm not going to lie. The size thing is, with him being only like 190 pounds, yes, that is a cause for concern. But in order to, to me, that's a concern that you say as a team that's going to pick him. Like, we're going to take you, but we are a little concerned about that. I'm not concerned enough to pass on Bryce Young because of that and take a guy like Anthony Richardson just because he's like 60 pounds bigger. No shot. I would take Bryce Young in a heartbeat over Anthony Richardson.
This is the time period that made E.J. Manuel a first-round quarterback.
I want to say, I went back and looked at that a while back. I want to say he not only was a first-round quarterback, he was like the only first-rounder that year.
I can't remember that was the same year's Christian Ponder, but that's another guy who
let me see. E.J. Manuel
didn't quite turn out the way the Vikings thought he would.
What year was he drafted?
That's a lot to give. I mean, to get the first-round pick, if you're the Colts, you're going to have to give up your number 4, and then you're going to have to give up a ton more to make up that value. Mm-hmm. For a guy who you are taking a huge – like, you're going to have to gamble just to gamble. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem like it makes much sense there. If you're the Colts, man, you've been doing this old guy quarterback routine for a while. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't trade, you can still get a top. You could get Richardson at 4 and not very easily. I feel like there's Stroud, there's Bryce Young, there's Levis, Hendon Hooker could make a name for himself. Like there's a lot. What?
I almost
if anyone got that trade offer, they'd take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. I almost got talked into the case for Chicago to just go ahead and take Bryce Young. Because so you have like 3 options if you're Chicago. You keep Justin Fields, and then you trade back and let someone else take a quarterback, and you get a lot of assets to build around Justin Fields. Or you stay put at number 1 and take someone on defense or whatever, again, to help build the team around Justin Fields. Or instead of trading back and building around Justin Fields with those picks, you select Bryce Young at number 1, trade Justin Fields for picks, and then use those picks to build around Bryce Young. And I don't hate that because I think that Justin Fields could benefit from going somewhere else and being seen in a different light also. So
if Chicago had a new coach, I could see that being the case.
That's a good point.
But it just seems like a lot of movement for a Bears team who finally at the end of the year looked like a team that was playing pretty good football. I mean, they were losing close games, but they were two good teams. And, man, they were fun to watch, which was not the case for the first 2 months of the Bears season. They were one of the worst teams to watch.
And Justin Fields got a little pep in his step, dude. He's a threat as a rusher.
He's a playmaker, and it's not like the guy can't throw. I mean, from his time at Ohio State, the guy makes throws. He's made throws in the pros. He hasn't had a ton of weapons. And as you've seen with young quarterbacks in this league, if you get them weapons, they get drastically better. Not even young quarterbacks, just any quarterback.
So if I'm Justin Fields, this is what I do, because the media has done nothing but compared him to Jalen Hurts, and that's because Jalen Hurts is really great with his legs, and he took a giant step as a passer this year, and he's become a real threat in the NFL. If I'm Justin Fields, instead of listening to those comparisons and saying I'll be fine, I would reach out to the guy they're comparing me to. I mean, they were either taken in the same draft or just a year apart. I would reach out to Jalen Hurts, who's going to go into his fourth year, and Fields going into his third, and saying, "Hey, you took a giant step. Like you rushing really well. I'm doing really well on the ground. Rush for like 1,000 yards and everything. He was close to being the single season quarterback rushing leader of all time. Like he did really well on the ground. But if I'm him, I'm reaching out to Jalen Hurts and saying, hey, how did you do this? What was your work ethic like? Because I'm pretty sure that there's a big difference. Not saying Justin Fields doesn't work hard, but I don't know if there's too many people that work harder than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, man.
Kind of get into that mindset that Jalen Hurts was in. Kind of follow him around and see if he'll teach you, which I'm sure he will. He's a nice guy. Ask him for some pointers.
Yeah, just learn how to squat 600 pounds, and you'll be able to get 2 yards on a quarterback sneak literally every time. That's all you have to do. Just increase your squat max by 250 pounds, and you'll be just like me.
Yeah.
But on the real, though, the Bears, what they did last year was they took their offense after it stunk for the first half and built it more around Justin Fields and what he does well. Exactly what Shane Steichen and the Eagles did when they got Jalen Hurts and decided he was going to be their guy. They built an offense around him and his strengths.
Yeah.
That's the key, man. You don't have to go out and throw for 500 yards. You don't have to do whatever. You have to do what your quarterback is best at, and you got to give them a little talent to make it happen because they can't do it all on their own. The league is too talented. And as far as trading him and trying to go Bryce Young and all this new stuff and get some – I think you're better off sticking with Fields. You already made a trade last year. You gave up a first-round pick for Chase Claypool. Claypool's had his moments in the league. Started off real hot for Pittsburgh, kind of fell to the wayside there. Pittsburgh was having issues with their offensive coordinator. Maybe that was the deal there. But even when he got to Chicago, he barely did anything. I think he had like 13 catches for Chicago last year once he was traded. So you need another talent there. Chase Claypool can't be your number one. If you can get a number one, Claypool's a great number two. You've got a quarterback that can run and throw. That's going to scare defenses. That's going to make the passing game a little easier. Cole Kmet's a stud at tight end. They've got really good running backs with Herbert and Montgomery. I think you stay the course.
If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you jarred something loose in my head here. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're thinking about taking another wide receiver high in the draft somewhere to be your new number one, make sure they don't have a TikTok. Because their last two now, Juju
no.
and Claypool.
He's a TikTok guy.
Claypool got in trouble, I want to say, like on the field pregame. Like people were saying he was being disrespectful for doing like a TikTok midfield pregame a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
So maybe if you're the Steelers and you're going to take a receiver, make sure they don't have a TikTok. They're good. They don't post videos. They just watch.
I think there's something to that, for real.
I'm being serious.
You ever seen Jalen Hurts post on TikTok? You ever see Mahomes post on TikTok?
I've seen his brother. They don't like him, do they?
They hate that guy. I'm pretty sure his brother hates him.
By the way, E.J. Manuel in 2013 was the number 16 overall player taken, the first quarterback taken, the only first-round quarterback taken. E.J. Manuel was the only quarterback taken in the first round. You want to know who the second quarterback overall in that draft was, picking at number 39? In the second round?
What year?
2013.
No, I don't know.
He's a Pro Bowler this year.
This year. Tyler Huntley? That doesn't say much.
Geno Smith.
Geno, okay. Geno. What a path that man's been on.
Dude got punched in the jaw by his own teammate. Had to get it wired shut like 8 years ago. And, I mean, that's one of the most unexpected comeback stories I've seen.
Guy got put in a starting role for the New York Giants while Eli Manning had the consecutive games started record, and he wasn't injured. And they put Geno in there, and he stunk. And then, of course, that just created a whole, like, why would you do that to Eli? I
forgot about that.
For Geno.
I forgot Geno was that guy.
So, yeah, socked in the face by one of his teammates with the Jets. Ruins Eli's record, even though it's not his problem. McAdoo put him in there.
And then gets put on, not only has the year that he has, gets put on a team that was expected to be one of the league's worst, was expected to be in the running to take a quarterback at the top of the draft by getting rid of Russell Wilson. Geno Smith's going to take a team. This team's not a playoff team. They went to the playoffs.
Goes to the Seahawks, where at the beginning of the year people are projecting Drew Lock to be the starter. He be the starter instead. I don't know why I said it like that. He's the starter instead. Goes to the Pro Bowl, and who's his coach in the Pro Bowl? Eli Manning. What a trip for Geno.
Threw 30 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
4,200 yards. Completed almost 70% of his passes.
Set a Seattle Seahawks passing record.
What a year for Geno.
What a career.
That's amazing.
Fresh off of West Virginia, where the guy was a Heisman finalist. You know, he was, air raid approved.
It's amazing. Amazing.
Quite a journey for that
the
fella.
journey he's been on. So, yeah, back to the original point, Anthony Richardson by CBS projected to be the number one overall.
That's bananas.
When you this, I would love to go back and analyze this draft because even back in the preseason, before the 2022 football season had even started, Will Levis was projected to be a top 5 and then a number 1 overall pick. Yeah. When you knew from the get-go guys like Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud were going to be available, we are still almost a calendar year later having the conversation that it's going to be possibly 2 other guys instead of them. It's the prime example of overthinking things. We are just overthinking it, overanalyzing. We're watching too much film. Stop it. You've watched enough. You've done your homework. Don't go back and do it again. You're good.
Don't Zach Wilson yourself. Okay?
Oh, God.
Don't see one moment in shorts and think this guy's the truth. Don't see.
I'm starting to see a lot of Will Levis in shorts videos. Look at this throw. I'm like, yeah, there's nobody there. Okay.
A great throw.
Yeah.
What do you do with all the other throws? Like all the ones you're going to make regularly. How are you with those?
Yeah.
I don't know. If Levis ends up being good, this might be worse than all the takes we had on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
At least Jalen Hurts, we've said positive things about. I don't think we've ever said a positive thing about Will Levis.
It's going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad if he turns out to be as good as everyone.
Even if Anthony Richardson was drafted first overall and he was good, we'd be like, project. They made it work.
Yeah, but we also loved him in college.
Yeah. I can't comprehend a world where Will Levis is like a Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, top of the league style quarterback. I can't comprehend that.
Also, I heard this the other day. It was someone trying to do a spin zone on Will Levis, and it was like, this is what Will did with, weapons, actual good weapons that he had the year before. I don't know why the receivers,
Kentucky?
Wan'Dale Robinson. Well, this is what he did with Wan'Dale Robinson when he actually had someone to throw to. And this is what he did this past year. And this is why, you're just going to he needs, weapons. Will Levis threw 10 picks this year, 19 touchdowns. You want to know what he did with Wan'Dale Robinson the year before? He threw 13 picks. He threw more interceptions the year that Wan'Dale Robinson was there. So, it was marginal in completion percentage difference. The touchdowns weren't that different.
Just like how we're irrationally scared of guys who are smaller than we think they should be, draft pros love guys that just fit the mold. That's like literally all it takes this time of year. They run a fast 40? Oh, they must be a great football player. Is that guy 6'4"? I bet he can throw the ball accurately.
That's Anthony Richardson, man. He's big. He's got the measurables. And he also has some intangibles, which is what people are looking for nowadays, the fact that he can get out of the pocket and run around and stuff, which is a positive for Anthony Richardson. But the thing that quarterbacks have to do a lot is throw the football, and I just don't think he's nowhere close to being on the same plane as Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, who I'm starting to come around on a little. C.J. I was ready to – I called him a certified bust several times, but, man, the last game they played in college, he looked pretty good against
C.J.
a
Stroud?
really good team. Yeah.
No social media guy.
It's a good point, man. That's a good
Did you ever see
point.
Johnny Unitas post a TikTok? You didn't? You ever see Sid Luckman post a – do you ever see him tweet? I didn't think so. You know what? Because they had a nighttime job at the docks. All right? He had to go to work.
Robert says, sorry I'm late. I just got back from the doctor. No problem, Robert. We did the beginning of the show
Pull a
three
card,
times.
Robert. Pull a card.
We did the beginning of the show 3 times today because
you missed
somebody
nothing,
forgot
buddy.
to turn the mics on and everything. So.
Yeah, whoever that doofus is.
No idea who that guy is, but oh my gosh.
Yeah, hey, we'll do a quick replay of the first 6 minutes of the show. Yeah, I had the mute button on, bud. Okay. So, you consider yourself here at pretty much the beginning.
So a couple other things I wanted to get to while we still had some time. We might go a little over because, again, the first 13 minutes of the show were spent not recording and then no mics. But a couple other things I wanted to talk about. We have one thing that I've really been avoiding talking about, so I'm going to save it again, and then I've got one thing after that we're going to end on because it's the best positive local story I've seen in a long time. But I wanted to go ahead and get into a little NBA action also. I know that we don't talk a lot of that a ton. It's not a huge market for NBA around here, but the NBA All-Star break was this past weekend, and my wife and I really love watching the NBA All-Star break. I've kind of gotten her into that. It helps whenever she's a big Steph Curry fan. When he shoots in the three-point contest, she loves watching. Buddy Hield won it a few years ago. He was in it this past weekend, so that was fun to watch. Damian Lillard, who is an incredible basketball player, won the three-point contest. So there was a lot to keep me interested until the dunk contest came on. And the dunk contest is one of those things where I'll watch the first round every year. I watch the first round, and if it stinks, I turn it off and I just watch the highlights of my favorite dunk contest every year. So this year,
you go straight to the past. Huh?
I go straight to 2016, Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine. Every single year. That first round stinks. I'm on YouTube. I had it pulled up on Sunday.
I got it bookmarked.
I had it pulled up and ready to go. I'm like, what am I going to see? Everybody comes out there. They do their first dunks. And I'm like, all right, it's nothing special. And then Mac McClung comes out there. Mac McClung played at you most remember him from Texas Tech when they went on that national championship run. He ended up going, he still currently is, I believe, in the G League, or maybe the Sixers gave him like a 10-day contract. But he got to represent in the dunk contest as a G Leaguer. And he won the dunk contest. And I've heard, and I just want to, if nobody else had seen it, let me temper the expectations as to what you've probably heard about the dunk contest. You've probably heard that this was a dunk contest for the ages. I've seen that typed out several times because Mac McClung won it and looked really good doing it. Mac McClung was awesome. The rest of the dunk contest was not. It was, and I'm telling you right now, it was very obvious from everyone not grading, but judging the dunk contest, everyone watching the dunk contest there, everyone watching at home and tweeting about it on Twitter. It was very obvious from the first Mac McClung dunk that the dunk contest was over. It was done. I couldn't tell you the name of the guy who was in the final with him because nobody cared. No one thought it was a contest. When it got to the final, it was all about what's Mac McClung going to do because it was already over. Mac McClung had already won this dunk contest. His first dunk was really good. His second dunk, I think, is the one that got the 50s, and it was awesome. He did everything you wanted to see, everything in the dunk contests that you loved. The one in 2016, which is my favorite, Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon, was great because all of the dunks were creative. They were difficult, and they tried to make them new. And Aaron Gordon's the best at making new dunks. He did that 2 years in a row and lost both dunk contests, and it was a sham. Mac McClung used his amazing athletic ability to be really creative and do a lot of things. Like he jumped over 2 people. There was somebody who was holding someone on their shoulders. He jumped over them, grabbed the ball, touched the backboard with the ball, and then dunked it. That was, I think, his first or second dunk. It was awesome. He showed over and over again that he was doing new creative things. He went and jumped and took it from somebody and pumped it twice and then dunked it. He was awesome. It was great. That's what I want in a dunk contest. You know what I don't like in a dunk contest?
Layups.
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think you should disqualify.
Sorry, my bad. Free throws.
What I hate in a dunk contest is when you do the gimmicks. When people, like, if it was just me and you out there, if one of us could dunk, and I went up.
Speak for yourself.
And you threw it off the backboard to me and I dunked it.
Yeah.
That's not going to win you a dunk contest. So why do players think that if you bring Kevin Hart to throw it off the backboard to you, that's all of a sudden going to help you in the dunk contest? It's still a lame dunk. Bringing celebrities out to be part of a gimmick, but it doesn't make the dunk any better. I hate that. And Mac McClung didn't do any of that.
It's a lose-lose for both sides on those two, for the celebrity and the dunker. Because if you're Kevin Hart out there and no one reacts to your dunk, now you're it's like you didn't do it. Right.
Yeah, you messed it up.
Yeah,
man.
now you're partly on the hook to blame for this thing.
It's somehow your fault. I don't know how, but it is.
The dunk contest needs star power, dude. They just need one guy to recruit like 4 other guys who we actually know.
But unfortunately, like some of the best younger
won't do it.
dunkers, you aren't going to do it anymore.
It's too much pressure.
Aaron Gordon's never going to do it again because he got hosed twice.
Yeah, why are they still on the 50 scale? For a while there, every dunk got 50 points. You know, no matter what. Oh, 50's great. Okay, we have a 7-way tie for the dunk contest.
And that's what screwed Aaron Gordon because he and Zach LaVine would go at it, and both of them, I'll give Zach LaVine credit too. Zach LaVine was doing dunks that should have been like 52, 53. Aaron Gordon was doing dunks that should have been like 60, 65, right? And that's why he lost. And, I mean, some of the dunks he did were – and then the second year he lost, I can't remember who it was, but there was it was a Miami Heat player that was in the final with him, and Dwayne Wade was one of the judges. So Dwayne Wade gave him a bump and helped him win and brought Aaron Gordon's score down so the Miami player could win. Both years screwed him over, and then there's not enough incentive for the other bigger players to do it. So.
It's too much pressure for him, too, because if you go out there and lose, then people will make fun of you on social media. That's no joke, dude. I mean, if you're LeBron, you go out there and you get 4th in the dunk contest, people are going to destroy you. A week after you set the all-time scoring record, all people are going to be talking about how you finished 4th in the dunk contest. So now it's like these guys have such a big brand and are so famous that if they do go into a dunk contest, it's really just a lose-lose situation. Like, if you win it, everyone expected you to do it. Cool, great job. Everyone's going to be like, oh, MJ won like 3 of them, you know, or whatever. So it's like, you really can't win. So they need a young guy, a charismatic young guy, to get 4 other young guys that people actually know, and they just go like, hey, let's just go for it.
I saw someone, and it got a little traction. Someone was like, Mac McClung didn't deserve to be in the dunk contest. He's not an NBA player. He doesn't deserve to be. I don't care who's in the dunk contest if they can dunk and if they're creative. You could go get the street ball guys to come out and do it and go up against a couple NBA players. I don't care.
That'd be cool.
I don't think that's a requirement to me because the NBA players obviously aren't good enough at it. You're supposed to be putting on a show. I want to see creativity and difficulty in them. Mac McClung did it. Zach LaVine did it. Aaron Gordon did it. Blake Griffin jumped over a car one time. Like, that stuff is a thing of the past. People don't want to get creative. There are people who are trying to make a name for themselves in these little dunk contests, and Mac McClung being in the G League, that have that extra incentive to go out there and be creative, try to come up with something new or something we haven't seen or something that only you can do. NBA players who are already there, that's an afterthought for them. I'd rather see anybody who has that drive and ability to do it. It doesn't just have to be an NBA player to me.
The dunk contest is tough, though, too. Like, it's kind of hard to be creative still with the dunk contest. Like, the human body can only get up so high and do so much stuff with a basketball, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I don't know, man.
It's kind of like I compare it to like the X Games, like skateboarding. Remember how big like the X Games were at one point? Like, I remember as a kid, like, the X Games were huge. Now I'll turn on the TV, and there's, like, the X Games on, like, every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks in Aspen, they're doing snowboarding on ABC, and the X Games are on. I'm like, wow, this used to be, like, an event, and, like, people actually care. But it got to a point where it's like, you know, they're creating new moves and new moves and new moves and all this, and then you get to a point where it's like, we don't have any more moves left. Like, if I try this move I want to and I don't get it, I'm going to die. Like, I can't do that, dude. I think that's where the dunk contest is.
One thing you said about the X Games is the reason I don't watch the X Games, because they're on every 2 weeks, and it's not because they're on too frequently. It's because I'm not sure if it's a rerun or not.
No, I have no idea. I'm like, is this live? Is this from 10 years ago?
Right.
Is this happening? Is this the main one? Is this winter? Is this summer? Is Tony Hawk still a thing? Is that I have no clue. Like, that's the dunk contest. Like, I don't even know what's coming up, and then I go, okay, cool. He plays for the Celtics? When? Like, now? He plays for him now. I don't remember seeing that guy.
I disagree with you a little bit when it comes to there's still not being like creative meat on the bone in the NBA dunk contest. Because Aaron Gordon in 2016 opened up some avenues that I think if you're athletic enough you can explore. Like, he had the one where it's like you can use new technology, new stuff that we have, just use it creatively. Like, he had the mascot come out on the little hoverboard thing, and he was spinning in circles, holding the ball like this.
Right, yeah.
And Aaron Gordon came and took the ball from him with one hand behind his back, took the ball from him with one hand, and slammed it down. Zach LaVine did the same exact dunk with no mascot and got the same score Aaron Gordon did. It's ridiculous. But and then Aaron Gordon, my favorite dunk I've ever seen in my entire life is when he had the mascot standing still holding it, and he jumped and he put the ball under both legs and dunked it like he was sitting in a chair. You can still do creative stuff like that. You have to actually think and try. And I think when you get guys like Mac McClung who have that extra incentive, like this is the only way people are going to know you, then you're going to get that. But when you just start taking NBA players who are already on NBA rosters and putting them in the dunk contest, they don't have that same drive to create stuff like that.
That's a fair point.
So I think it's a great idea to have people like Mac McClung.
I think I saw Mac McClung won more money in the dunk contest than he did his whole year's salary playing in the G League. So yeah, you're definitely playing for a lot more than
definitely incentive to be in that. All right, last couple of things that we have. Alabama plays South Carolina tonight in basketball, and I'll be honest with you.
I don't think that will be the storyline. No.
Probably not going to be, and I honestly could not tell you if Brandon Miller is going to play in this game tonight or not, and I'll tell you why. I'm so over the story and done talking about it and thinking about it. We're going to talk about it for a second just because everybody else is talking about it. It's the only thing I can see online. But if you're wondering, was it Darius Miles that got arrested? Mm-hmm. Darius Miles, the Alabama player, got arrested for capital murder about a month or so ago. And new details in court during testimony yesterday came out that were apparently already known by the police, by the way. They were already known by Nate Oates and Alabama and everything. It was new to us that Darius Miles texted Brandon Miller after midnight, the night that the lady was shot and killed, to bring him his gun. Brandon Miller brought him his gun. It was in the backseat of his car.
Is that confirmed?
Yes.
Because I've heard different.
No, that has been confirmed.
That he texted him that? Because I heard differently that Brandon Miller wasn't the one that texted him about the gun. That's kind of where I am on the whole thing.
Darius Miles texted Brandon Miller. It was Darius Miles' gun. Brandon Miller had Darius Miles' gun. Darius Miles texted him because the guy who actually –
I heard it was a different –
So there's three people involved. It's Brandon Miller, it's Darius Miles, and the other guy. Was it a Bama basketball player too? The other guy who actually shot the person.
I thought Darius Miles was.
That's what we're told, but in court they're saying this guy.
Do you see how confusing this is?
This guy, I can't remember his name, he borrowed Darius Miles' gun, who got the gun back from Brandon Miller. Darius Miles, the texts are, I've heard it from two different people who were there at the thing yesterday, that the testimony, the trial.
Okay.
That Brandon Miller had the gun, Darius Miles texted him, and it was all coded, but it was like, I need the heat, and Brandon Miller drove him. It didn't hand him the gun. Drove him there with his gun in the back seat. Darius Miles and the other guy went and grabbed the gun and then walked up and shot up the car.
Now, what I heard is that the other guy sent the text saying the gun was there, but that Miller's car had the gun in it, and he was there.
Brandon Miller received the text.
Are you sure about that?
I'm 100% sure about that.
I think I heard something different.
You may have heard something different, but I'm 100% positive.
From a journalist in the area.
I heard from
following the case.
I heard from a lady. It was on the radio this morning. A lady who was there during the testimony yesterday in court.
We might be talking about the same thing.
Said that Brandon Miller, regardless of who texted Brandon Miller received texts to bring the gun to the scene. Is what I'm saying. So Brandon Miller got texts, said, "I need the gun." So Brandon Miller, the guy currently playing for Alabama, got the gun, put it in his backseat, and drove it up to the gas station or wherever they were at. And then the other party came up to Brandon Miller's car. Brandon Miller didn't hand him anything. They took the gun out of his backseat, and then they walked up to the car, and they did the shooting. Brandon Miller's car was in a position where it was blocking. Don't know if it was intentional or not. That was left out of court.
Right.
But
it was him and Jaden Bradley's car also on Alabama.
They were there blocking the way of the car that was shot up. Brandon Miller's car actually took fire as well. And this is – I'm just trying to get all this out because this is, the story that's ongoing. I am not trying to get bogged down in whether Brandon Miller should be arrested or tried or whatever. In the court of law, Brandon Miller did nothing unlawful. However, there is something down the road where this could be brought up civilly. That is totally different. My whole issue was Nate Oates was asked about this yesterday when this information came out. And Nate Oates, and I'm paraphrasing a little, this is just a quote taking out of his entire quote, but he did say, he said, Brandon Miller is not in any trouble. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. My entire argument, again, taking all this whole should he be arrested or anything out of it, we're living in two different worlds. Whether or not he deserves to be arrested, if he did anything unlawful, is up here. Nate Oates, in his telling of the situation that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, is down here. There's something in the middle here that's going on that's not being communicated properly. For Nate Oates, I think Nate Oates is a dumb person. So for him to come out and feel like, that this was basically like a nothing story and be like, well, Brandon Miller did nothing wrong. I mean, something's lost in translation here because that is such an out of touch thing to say when we learned yesterday that Brandon Miller came and supplied Darius Miles his gun, which was then used to kill someone. He was texted after midnight. I want to say that they were all at a club or something, and he was texted after midnight to bring him a gun. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and just go, oh my God, I don't have my gun. Hey, Tony Mack, can you bring me my weapon?
Can't say I've been there. No.
Right. You're only ever going to do that in one of two situations: when you are aggressing, or you were the aggressor, or if you were defending yourself. So Brandon Miller, in my opinion, would had to have known that it was one of those two. Don't know if that was communicated to him or not. So he brought a gun to a situation that he probably should have known one way or the other was a hostile one. That is not just simply happened to be walking by when someone else got shot. I'm not saying Brandon Miller was involved heavily in killing someone. However, to say that he was just simply in the wrong place at the wrong time when he assisted in this is completely tone deaf. And Nate Oates had to come out and apologize afterwards. The biggest problem here is what Nate Oates said. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he came back and marched back on those comments. So.
And I'm glad he did because I've never thought Nate Oates was a dumb person. That was a very dumb comment for him to make.
Look, the guy's got a tough situation on his hands. He's a basketball coach, and half of his team is involved in a murder, and then he gets asked the question in a press conference, and you expect the guy to have a presidential response on the fly. He did not have that. He has since walked it back. I'm not going to go yell Nate Oates needs to be fired because his players.
No, and that is not what I'm saying. I know that's being said. That is not what I'm saying, but.
Where I'm at on this whole thing is I don't know what, like I say with any story that pops up that involves law enforcement and and if there's a trial or whatever, I need to see what the story is because the thousands of people on Twitter all yelling different things and different facts with air quotes. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's the real thing. I would imagine that if the law enforcement involved took out Darius Miles and they didn't grab anybody else, there's probably a reason to that. I mean, I don't think Nate Oates could rationally think he could hide the fact that Brandon Miller had involvement on this thing. If Nate Oates had this secret plan to keep this hidden the whole time, it would have never worked. So, right. I mean, I don't think that's the case. It's a bad situation. It's not at all like no one is going to be talking about Alabama, how well they're going to shoot from three tonight. It's all going to be about this. It's going to follow them the whole season. It could affect Brandon Miller down the line, but where I'm at right now is I've got to see more facts. I need to see more credible. I need to know what's going to happen from this thing because right now we're all we have the facts that we have, and then the rest we're filling in the blanks, and everyone fills in the blanks differently, and it creates a different image in everybody's head for all this stuff. So
I agree.
That's where I am on the whole
I'm just
thing.
tired of talking because all you hear now is you hear the extremist side of all of it. Like,
it's the extreme. Yes, it always
Brandon
goes
Miller
to the
should
extreme.
be in jail or he did nothing wrong. Did you not hear all this and this? And people just arguing over, again, facts that we do not have. Where it's all based on opinion about what we assume. Again, I made an assumption. I assumed that whether Brandon Miller knew something was up, whether he thought Darius Miles needed to protect himself or Darius Miles was going to be an aggressor. He should have known one of those things were going down if someone asked you to bring you a loaded weapon after midnight. But that's not a fact. That is a personal opinion of mine. The fact is we know that Brandon Miller supplied Darius Miles with his gun that was then used to kill somebody, and we do know that the police were aware of that and said there's nothing to charge him with. We know all of these things. So we're getting bogged down in all this other stuff. And my only issue that I saw yesterday was the Nate Oates thing, but I'm just tired of hearing about it, man. And then you have other people that field these questions on sports radio, like it's and I get it. Look, people go to sports to escape from things. Then you hear this, and it's a little bit about other things other than sports. A murder that happened over a month ago. Obviously, you feel bad for the victim and her family. She was a mother. You obviously feel bad about those things. But when people come and they start wondering, is Brandon Miller going to get kicked off the team? Should he get kicked off the team? Is he going to play tonight? When you scold people for asking you those things, when you're a sports radio host on a sports radio show, what are you doing? I mean, this is what you're supposed to talk about. You can go beyond that. Just don't scold them when they ask you sports questions on your sports show.
It's called a conversation.
You're right. I wanted it. So, I mean, I need to know. Is Brandon Miller playing tonight? I don't know the answer.
Well,
I can't Google that either because you Google Brandon Miller, the story's going to pop up.
And I think up until game time, I don't even think Nate Oates or Greg Byrne or any of them will really truly know. I think this will be, 5 minutes short of going out. Like, is there any new developments with this case? Like, for real? Like,
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think minute by minute the school's tracking this thing, and it could change at any second. But I'm not going to fall into the extremist trap that everyone's doing. Fire everybody, suspend everyone, cancel the school, get everyone rid of this, blah, 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 blah. It's like, come on, just let the process handle itself.
The final thing I wanted to talk about, the good positive story that we're going to wrap this up with, that I saw yesterday on Facebook. It's super local to high school athletics here in the area. We've got a lot of good athletics programs around here. Bob Jones, James Clemens, Sparkman, Athens High School, their cheerleaders, I think, just won a national championship. So we got different aspects of high school athletics around here that do great things. Sparkman, they've been good at basketball for a number of years. Their Sparkman girls just won the 7A regional tournament yesterday, and they only had like 4 people in their student section. Like the school didn't send any students there to watch. Like that to me is a botch job by the school.
That's tough.
Not hyping it up and getting a sign up sheet and getting people ready to go.
4?
However, it said like 4. This is the post from Deidre Pike Photography on Facebook yesterday. She said, y'all, Sparkman girls just won the 7A regional tournament, but had like 4 people in their student section. So the student section for Huntsville High School stepped up and cheered these ladies on to victory. It was awesome. If there was a dry in the arena, it wasn't mine. Way to go, Sparkman Lady Centers, or way to go, Huntsville School, the Huntsville High School student section. I am a fan. Here's the picture of the loaded student section filled with Huntsville High School students supporting a school in their local area.
That's pretty cool.
As they won the 7A region title. That is awesome.
There is kind of a bond between schools in North Alabama when it becomes state tournament time.
It's like the SEC.
Because North Alabama is always looked at as like the Pac-12, like we're the punching bag or something. We're the weak conference,
Because in football,
the SEC is Birmingham in the middle of the state, and Big Ten, the southern part, that north part though. Those guys, they don't know what they're doing over there, and it's typically right. The teams in North Alabama are typically eliminated earlier than some of the others. On average, not always. I'm just saying from my own experience, that seemed to be the case. So there is kind of there's a prideful feeling when a team from North Alabama beats someone from Central or South Alabama. It's like, yeah, that's right. We got our one. There's an underdog mentality. So that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. I love to see that. Like you said, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth, just supporting the community, supporting those around you. I know that we do have rivalries built out of that, but you even see it in the SEC, right? When the SEC, Alabama fans will talk junk about Tennessee fans, Kentucky, blah, blah, blah. Fan bases will go at it all over the place. But when you get into bowl season, when you get into those New Year's Six bowls, and you get into those high-profile games that everybody's watching, SEC fans are all of a sudden pulling for the SEC team because they want to protect their own. Huntsville High School going out there and supporting a school in their local area in North Alabama is an amazing thing to see. Love every bit of that.
Too bad they didn't get a field trip out there for the girls either, man. Right. I used to love that. Our girls won state, maybe at least once, but we went to Wallace State for the regionals. We went to Birmingham for state, and those were just so much fun, dude. So, bummer for the girls. They didn't get to have their own student section, but they did get a student section.
I'm glad that they were able to cheer them on. Whoever is at fault there, my mind immediately goes to the school. Get a sign-up sheet for them or something. You know what I mean? Start hyping up some of these games.
And, maybe you got other trips planned and it doesn't work. I get it. Not every school can send their people, but
you have an opportunity. That was what Wallace State, right? So now you have an opportunity for state.
That's right.
State tournament. So get them out there. And if you're Huntsville, reward your students for being awesome. So that's really cool.
Give another day off to watch basketball.
Yeah.
That's the reward you want. I loved that.
Yeah, send them to a Trash Pandas game. Why don't you bring them all out here? We have a couple day games coming up. April 19th. I'd say the other one, but it's about sold out. So April 19th, September 6th.
April 19th, September 6th, man. If you got a school that wants to go on a field trip and you want to watch a baseball game and have fun all day, you should probably do this one because it's
day games.
It's the best.
That's
so.
Right. I wanted to end I didn't want to end on the Brandon Miller stuff. I wanted to end on that amazing story right there. So let's go ahead and call it today. We went a little over today because we could not get the technical part of this show right to start, but we were good to go.
Going. I couldn't.
That's
okay.
We
Don't say we. That's a great leader mentality right there. but it was me.
Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off before anything else happens. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back Friday from 2 to 3 to wrap up this week for you, get you set up for everything we have coming up in the month of March here at Toyota Field. I'm Tony Mack. That's Tricky Ricky. It's been the Bullpen.
Oh, whoops. Gonna have to redo it. Forgot to hit record. Sorry.